What's up, duelists? I'm Smashton or SmashtonYGO, and if you clicked on this video, then you at least have some sort of interest in the Yu-Gi-Oh trading card game. Whether that be because of the anime as you were a kid, or maybe you play it right now, or maybe you're interested in getting into the game of Yu-Gi-Oh! In this video, I'm going to tell you 5 reasons why you should start playing Yu-Gi-Oh! Thanksgiving is right around the corner, and I wanted to make a video right before Thanksgiving, all talking about positive things about Yu-Gi-Oh! Because I wouldn't be making these videos and I wouldn't have this channel if it wasn't an important game to me and if it didn't change my life. So here are the 5 reasons why you should play Yu-Gi-Oh! And maybe next year, come Thanksgiving and thankful times, you'll think back to this video, you'll think back to your time with Yu-Gi-Oh! And you might be thankful for it as well. Reason number 1. Friends. Obviously, Yu-Gi-Oh! Is a trading card game, and that requires 2 people at the very least to play. You and somebody else, whether that's somebody online or somebody in person. By far the most obvious and best thing about Yu-Gi-Oh! Is just meeting people, meeting friends that share this same hobby that you do. This can be deepening friendships with your old friends that maybe you try to get into the game with, or making completely new friends by playing the game with new people. It might be cliche to talk about friendship when we're talking about a series that has an anime that is very, very focused on friendship and support groups, but I think that's what makes Yu-Gi-Oh! So special. It does have a show, and it does have this core in the heart of the cards, and friendship, and your bonds with your friends, and bonds beyond time, and everything like that. And I really do think that Yu-Gi-Oh! Is a great place to make new friends, especially if you decide to go in person to locals events, because I've met some amazing people at my locals. I've played amazing games. I've had a super fun time, even at high competitive levels. And I really think that it's just an awesome thing that Yu-Gi-Oh! Has the ability to bring people together like that. I have a guy at my locals named Trey who I've started to become friends with because of going to Yu-Gi-Oh! At locals. We started going back and forth and talking and having fun playing the game, but we developed this sort of rivalry where sometimes he would win, sometimes I would win. He'd play this specific deck that I didn't like. I would play a specific deck that he had to try to beat through, and we've kind of been going back and forth for forever now, and eventually we found each other in the finals to finally settle our rivalry. But as you know, if you have a Yu-Gi-Oh! Rival, so to speak, you never really settle it. I won that exchange, but the rivalry's still going on. We still text back and forth. We borrow cards from each other, and it's an awesome thing that Yu-Gi-Oh! Allowed us to do that. So even though it might be cliche, even though it might be silly, even though it might be a little sappy to say so, I really think that one of the most magical things about Yu-Gi-Oh! Is its ability to help you make friends and really meet some awesome people. Reason number 2, events. Yu-Gi-Oh! Is a massive card game, one of the most popular card games in the whole world, and there's always something going on that you can go to. Whether that be a locals, a regional, a YCS, or even nationals. If there's not one like a regional or YCS near you immediately, you can be sure that eventually there is going to be one. I know for me, over where I'm at, I'm in a fairly rural state, and I still get regional events that are nearby me within driving distance, within a couple months of each other. And YCSs and nationals are usually within travel distance for me, where I can actually go to these things every once in a while. Now, there hasn't been a YCS for me to go to in about a year, but I know that they're likely going to come back eventually, and then I'll be able to experience the YCS that way. Nationals was not exactly immediately close to me, but it was close enough to where if I wanted to go, I could have traveled there. And then there's always locals. It's called locals for a reason, right? It is local. You can just go there, have fun, play Yu-Gi-Oh! With people, and get out the house. Go do some stuff. Go see events. There's side events that you can do at regionals and YCSs. And those are some of the funnest things you can do. You can go hard and play competitive at regionals or the YCS or nationals and try to be one of those top tier players. But if you lose out, it's okay, because you can just go play side events with your friends and try to win some cool prizes, and it's just a generally fun freaking time, and I really think that that's one of the strengths of Yu-Gi-Oh! 2, playing in person. Some locals even do like Master Duel tournaments and stuff, to where if you don't want to leave your house, you don't have to. There's even remote duel YCSs and stuff, remote duel regionals that you can play at your house. Just set up a camera, get your playmat set up, and you can still play Yu-Gi-Oh! At these events, but you can just do it at the comfort of your own home. With the advent of Master Duel and with remote duel regionals, there's really no reason you can't play at an event if you want to, and it's super easy to get into. So events, definitely a reason to play Yu-Gi-Oh! Number 3, lore and anime. I mean, there are entire communities based around card lore. And if you're into that kind of thing, if you're one of those people that, you know, watches a show and gets really into like theorizing about it, or you're somebody who gets really into the lore of content that you like to read or watch or play as if it's a video game, then Yu-Gi-Oh! Is here for that too. I mean, I can't tell you the amount of times that I've heard about Albaz lore and Fallen of Albaz lore and Dogmatica lore and all the stuff surrounding that stuff, Scareclaw lore and Visa's lore and Tearlament lore, that people get really into it, and honestly, for the most part, they're interpreting it, which means that there's also a lot of discussion back and forth with people's interpretations of card art, with people's theories about what's going on, and there are real full storylines that go from beginning to end that you can trace with card art that is within the cards that you just play. And I think that's pretty cool. It's not exactly my cup of tea, but I know a lot of people do enjoy that part of it. And so if that sounds interesting to you, it's there for you. There is entire communities based around lore, stuff like that. Also, obviously, anime is like a huge factor. I mean, there is an anime associated with Yu-Gi-Oh!, which also makes it fairly unique compared to something like a Hearthstone or a Magic the Gathering. And each version of the anime really kind of has its own sort of set of fan base. Like, there are the diehard DM era Duel Monsters OG fans, but there's also like specifically GX fans and 5Ds fans and on and on and on and on, where if you're really into anime or can get really into specific shows and the communities around them, Yu-Gi-Oh's here for that too. You can be a 5Ds person, or you can be a GX person, or you can just be well versed in the entire thing and have a great time. There's even content creators who center almost their entire channel around anime stuff, Yu-Gi-Oh! Anime duels, or just have the anime as sort of a basis that they build their content around. And that leads me into point number 4. The 4th reason that you should play Yu-Gi-Oh! Is, I mean, content. May sound silly, but I know for me, I consume a lot of YouTube. That is one of my main forms of entertainment, and if you want my personal opinion, I'm not just saying this because I am a Yu-Gi-Tuber, so to speak, but in my personal opinion, I used to try to do like Magic content and stuff, and maybe I just didn't find the right people, but I think Yu-Gi-Oh! Has an argument for some of the best content creation that is out there. Themo, Distant Coder, Kali Effect, Farfetch, MBT, among others. All of these people make amazing content, and there's plenty to watch, and it's all super interesting. You can get stuff from competitive level analysis if you want to go real like hard into the competitive scene, to ultra casual like anime only duels that you can find. You can find stuff in the middle. You can find sealed series like Progression, which is one of my biggest influences and reasons of getting into Yu-Gi-Oh! Or you can just find off the wall stuff like stream highlights and streamers and stuff like that that you can watch, and there's an endless amount of content, including my own. I really got into Yu-Gi-Oh! Because of Semo's Progression series. I came across it at some point. I can't exactly remember how, but I watched it and thought it was such an amazing idea. And so me and TJ, that you can recognize from the Duel Tower, decided to do one ourselves just as friends. And that really is what sparked our love of Yu-Gi-Oh! And I would not be in this chair recording this video, almost hitting 500 subscribers in a year of having this YouTube channel, without that series. And I've watched so many other series since then, like DZ's Master Saga or Farfa's Table 500, that are just really interesting, really unique, and it's kind of what I've tried to model all of my content around. And I really think Yu-Gi-Oh! Is a great place for content creation, not only as a creator, but also as an audience. So if you watch a lot of YouTube like I do, Yu-Gi-Oh! Has a lot to offer. And by the way, if you do like any of my content on this channel, make sure you do hit that subscribe button. We are trying to hit 500 subscribers by the end of the year, and I would really appreciate your help with that. Check out all my content on my channel. I really hope you like it. Let me know what your thoughts are down below. And finally, number 5, the 5th reason you should play Yu-Gi-Oh! And maybe the most important, it's fun. Now, I know that may come as a shock to some of us, even some of us Yu-Gi-Oh! Players, that may come as a shock, but there is so much fun to be had in Yu-Gi-Oh! In all the different ways and different forms that it takes. If you want to go full competitive and just jump into how Yu-Gi-Oh! Is today in the modern format, yes, it can be challenging. Yes, it can be daunting. Yes, it's complicated. Yes, there's a lot of rules to get through. But For me, I'm sort of a person that I do like a challenge. When I play video games, I always play them on hard. I always play stuff like Dark Souls and Bloodborne and games like that. And that's not me trying to say that I'm some hardcore gamer and I like everything to be difficult. But I do find reward in breaking through barriers, breaking through my own personal hindrances, and succeeding where I thought I would otherwise fail. And when I won locals for the first time after about a year of playing, I know I'm horrible. It took me a year to win locals, but hey, my players are pretty good. The people on my locals, I respect them a lot. The feeling I had when I won locals was exuberant. I was so freaking happy. I was driving home like with an adrenaline rush because I worked so hard to learn the game, learn its ins and outs, learn what the meta was at the time, and it paid off because I worked hard to do it. I enjoyed doing it, and that mountain that I thought was in front of me, I punched through it and I made it through, and I was able to do that. Now I'm looking to see if I can top a regional. That's my next goal, and I think I can do it. It's just going to take some time and hard work, and I think that's part of the fun for me is even though it's challenging, I'm achieving something and I feel like that's worth it. Now, you don't have to do that though. Yu-Gi-Oh doesn't have to be this hardcore competitive thing that you always play the modern format. I mean, I know it can seem like that from the outside looking in, but there are other ways to enjoy Yu-Gi-Oh. I just mentioned in number 4 that the thing that got me into Yu-Gi-Oh was not the modern format. It was content creation. It was CMO's progression series. It was playing a sealed casual format. You can do that too. Sure, it's a little bit more difficult, and I wish Konami would sort of find new ways and new formats and new interesting ideas to bring more people into Yu-Gi-Oh! And sort of make it more casual friendly. But you can kind of make your own fun, so to speak, by playing those different formats that people have thought up. Keep in mind, Magic the Gathering is an older game, but even Commander, probably one of the most popular alternate formats in the entire game, was originally fan-made, and Yu-Gi-Oh! Maybe won't be any different. We already see a format called Edison, which is much slower, much more methodical, there's more more turns. That's already becoming more of an official Konami thing, with it even having like a entire like event at either a YCS or a Nationals, I can't remember which one. And so I think that shows that there are different ways to play Yu-Gi-Oh! You can play Edison, you can play GOAT if you want to go really old school. There's just playing Master Duel with friends. You don't even have to play on the ladder. Just get some friends together, throw some cards into a deck and play. There's Rivalry of the Warlords where you just get picked a random deck and you have to run with it. There's so many different ways to enjoy Yu-Gi-Oh! Or, like I've already mentioned, just use an idea that a content creator has come up with and just do that with your friends if you really want to. Progression series, or you can do like DZ's Master Saga on your own. I've done that with TJ before as well, before I started doing YouTube, and it was a whole lot of fun. Or maybe even Duel Tower, my own series. You can try that out as well. There's so much potential for sealed play. There's so much potential for casual play, and I really don't want that to get lost in the whole Yu-Gi-Oh! Meta competitive conversation, because while I do think Yu-Gi-Oh! Is hard to get into for a brand new player, especially using Konami's official sort of merchandise and stuff and ideas, I do think it is certainly possible. And at the end of the day, once you find what you enjoy, once you find it and it clicks, man, it is some of the funnest card game stuff that you can get. Yu-Gi-Oh! Has certainly changed my life. I remember a couple years ago, I was thinking about getting back into card games, and I always looked at Yu-Gi-Oh! And said, no, it's a little too explosive, it's a little too fast, it's a little too crazy. I don't think I want to get into that, and I tried Magic instead. But it just didn't click the same way. I didn't have a connection to it like I did with Yu-Gi-Oh! I did grow up with Yu-Gi-Oh! I did watch it as a kid. I did have a bunch of cards and played the Playground Yu-Gi-Oh! And I loved it. And I knew that real life Yu-Gi-Oh! Like it is today was nothing like that. But when I played Progression Series, when I played those older formats, when I played with those older cards in the casual way, it really brought all of those childhood memories back into my life, back to the fold. And I felt like I regained something I had lost before. And now, I mean, Yu-Gi-Oh! Is a huge part of my life. It is something I think about all the time. I make content about it all the time. I'm trying to make this YouTube channel at least a part-time, full-time, some kind of job, because I love the game so much and I love making content around it for you guys to watch. I go to locals every week. I go to regionals now. I test with friends online trying to get better with each other. I make fun series like NR Master Duel because I just think it's fun to come up with new ideas and new ways to play Yu-Gi-Oh! And it's just become a huge part of my life. It really has changed my life. I had always wanted to do YouTube for so long, and I don't know why Yu-Gi-Oh! Became the one thing that I was going to make a YouTube channel on, but here I am, and I couldn't be happier about it. I love that I decided to do it. It has meant a lot to me, and I can't wait to keep doing it. So as we wrap this video up, I just want to say thank you not only to Yu-Gi-Oh! Itself and Kazuki Takahashi for making such an amazing card game and an amazing experience that has literally changed my life and has changed the lives of so many other people, but also to thank you, the viewer, for watching this, watching my content, subscribing, liking my videos, commenting, whatever you do to support me. It means a whole lot. This YouTube channel, Yu-Gi-Oh! As a whole, means so much to me, and to see support for it just in the way that it has over this past year, and as I've tried to grow this channel, it's meant so much to me, and I just want you guys to know that I really appreciate you, and I'm thankful for you. And with that, I hope you have an amazing day. I hope that your Thanksgiving is great if you decide to celebrate it. And I hope that if you aren't into Yu-Gi-Oh!, then maybe this video has convinced you to at least give it a shot in whatever way that you think makes the most sense for you. But until then, I hope you guys have a great one. I'll see you on the next video. Peace.